ka hara rona mona. Sinonkosi uMandla Dlamini. Bayede. Secretary Contralesa la ICDB. Sibe no Princess Zandi, no Princess Matieo. We will recognize them. Sibe no Reverend Chief Mutebang, who's also the chairperson of Contralesa. Rebele Reverend Peku Masowa, ailing chairperson of FBO. And then also recognize the elected official, ailing Tate Mokhanselara, Wamona Ward 19, Ndate Ndade Mukwena. We also recognize the Charlotte Maxeke Institute, represented represented by the CEO. Ke lamohela kaofela ba leng teng ka jeno ba tlileng mosebetsi ona wa sehopotso. Re hopola 30 years, re thabela 30 years of democracy, celebrating 30 years of our democracy, but also re hopola 35 years ya Sebokeng massacre. And also we took this opportunity, or maybe let me not go there first. Before we get into those politics, will you please play the national anthem? I can't lead it. No, I think they'll play the. Please continue. And so they call to come together and united we shall stand. Let us sing and strive for freedom. In South Africa. Re lebohile. Re tla kopa Ntate Mokhanselara a tlo re amohela mona Ward 19, Ntate Mokoena.
A ke dumedise program director, ke dumedise moruti wa kereke ya AME e leng presidente, ke tle ke dumedise hape le mme wa AME le yena presidente Mbogoto o itshwere ka bohale mme. Ke dumedise chair ya legislature, good morning sir. Also ke dumedise chair of the chairs, Ntate Thulani Kunene e leng hape chairperson ya region ya mokgatlo o moholo ka hara naha. Ke tle ke dumedise baruti bohle ba teng tsatsing la kajeno. Ke tle ke dumedise setjhaba se teng kajeno ka hara Wilberforce. Ke re dumelang. Mosebetsi wa ka o bobebe haholo modulasetulo. Re batla ho leboha haholo Wilberforce ho be le building e tjena ka hara Ward 19 re le baahi ba Ward 19. Re batla hore le legislature e kgonne ho nahana hore ha re hopoleng mme wa pele mme Maxeke re lo mo hopola ka hara setjhaba sa Everton sa Ward 19. We appreciate the effort that you have done, Chair. Iskaba tsatsing la kajeno fela le nenne le hopole mo re tswang teng. Ka ho tjho jwalo ke batla hore nama maoto la o sa batla o tsamaya ka Wilberforce di rumo di teng mo tla phomola hantle o bona o tswa hole o relaxe ba entse bonnete ba hore ka hore motse wa Everton North re na le ntho tse jwalo le sponsor se teng le se bone re save nama maoto ke batla hore you are welcome. Thank you very much program director.
Ntate Mokoena motelle haholo a so rena ke mokhutswane ke na motelle haholo. Now I'm fine. It's just our deputy speaker had flu yesterday. She had to attend the legislature sitting, even though she had flu, because we were voting for the budget that is meant to make sure that the services in Gauteng won't grind into a halt. Because if the legislature had not adopted the budget yesterday, it means teachers, nurses, and everybody else who gets paid from the provincial government would have not been paid. So, because of our reduced numbers in the legislature, we had to make sure that everybody attends. But today, flu imohateletse, so uko high, she's trying to make sure that she fully recovers from the flu. So we want Honorable Deputy Speaker Nomvuyo Mhlagaza Manamela. We'll just go straight to the presentations by the learners. Ababu Orkemanga from Charlotte Maxeke School. Can we have Charlotte Maxeke? They're going to make a presentation on the youth in democracy as they honor the life of Mayor Charlotte Maxeke. They can have the stage now. Okay, can come here.
Greetings to you all. My name is Kgaugelo Garodi, representing for Maxeke Leagues. I will be introducing the topic. Okay. Imagine a woman, a force of nature, into history when the world said no. That was Charlotte Maxeke. She wasn't just a first, she was a firebrand, a music prodigy who swapped concert halls for classrooms, then battlefields of social justice. She didn't just break the glass ceiling, she shattered it, becoming the first South African Black female graduate. Movements challenged empires and ignited a revolution of women's power. Her voice, a thunderclap against oppression. Her legacy, a wildfire of inspiration. Forget history, forget dusty history books. Charlotte Maxeke's story is a rock anthem of resilience, a vibrant tapestry of courage that still echoes today. She's not just a name, she's a legend, and her story demands.
Greetings to you all. My name is Chipuka Chantel, and I'm going to be representing to you the life of Charlotte Maxeke. Charlotte Maxeke was born on the 7th of April 1871 in Ragamolepwe, Limpopo, South Africa. She was a social worker, a human rights activist, and a politician. She was one of the first Black South African women to obtain a university degree. She obtained a degree, a Bachelor of Science, in the University of Wilberforce in Ohio, USA, in the year 1903. She was also a pioneering figure fighting against racism and sexism in South Africa. She was also the first Black the future for generations of women to be involved in politics and social activism. She was, thank you.
Greetings. Today I'm going to present about Ms. Maxeke's legacy. Ms. Maxeke's legacy is that of she paved a way for future generations of Black South African women. Mrs. Maxeke was a pioneering figure in the fight for women's rights, for education, economic empowerment, and equal rights. Her work extended beyond women's rights, and she fought against racism, poverty, and inequality in South Africa. Ms. Maxeke's continue to inspire and motivate people to stand up for and fight for social justice. Today, she's remembered struggle against apartheid and symbol of women empowerment. Thank you.
Greetings to you all. My name is Neo Macheta. Here to tell you about the honors that our schools are doing for Ms. Maxeke. By honoring Charlotte Maxeke's life and legacy, schools are dedicated to teaching their students about the valuable lessons of democracy, human rights, and social justice. These values are essential for building important values in the students of today so that they can build a more just and equitable society for the
Youth across South Africa have honored Charlotte Maxeke's legacy in a variety of ways, including youth dialogues, debates, and discussions to explore Maxeke's values, including visual art, music, and poetry. Social media campaigns. Youth media platforms to share information, quotes, and stories using hashtags to create awareness and promote her legacy.
Greetings to you all. My name is Lilon Sibanda, and today I'll be presenting to you our contribution towards Ms. Maxeke's legacy is as follows. To this day, we continue with Maxeke's fight for social justice and equality by advocating human rights. We also strive to continue to support initiatives that empower women and girls, such as education and economic empowerment. We continue to raise awareness and share information about Ms. Maxeke.
In conclusion, Charlotte Maxeke's remarkable life and legacy serve on the world. As we reflect on her life and legacy, the values of courage, resilience, and determination that guided her.
A symbol of power, or a woman of strength, a symbol of hope.
Honoring the past inspires.
Re lebohe bana ba sekolo sa mme Charlotte Maxeke, who properly represented her story and what she stood for. A re ba shapele matsoho gape. Re tla kopa choir to entertain us. Where is the choir? Ke nako ya lona choir jwale. Re bineng, re thabeng o be monate. re leboheng Everton Legends. Ba shapele matsoho hape. Re lebohile haholo. Re tlo nka hape another input by Puelane Secondary School. Puelane Secondary School. Ba tlo bua ka 30 years of democracy in the eyes of a child.
As the great words of Eleanor Roosevelt say, I quote, "The future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams." My name is Thandeka Boy, and I will be leading our group presentation. Joining me is Palesabo Pape, Relebile Mutibe, and Hlalefang Gatabe. We are grade 10 learners in Pelano Secondary School, and today I will be making a speech about 30 years of democracy in the eyes of child. Democracy will cease to exist if we give to those who are not willing to work and take away from. As the famous words of Charlotte Maxeke, I quote, "We must not be content with being second-class in our own country. These are the words that keep us striving for freedom. These are the words that will forever be engraved in our hearts in commemoration of our true leaders like Julius Nyerere, Charlotte Maxeke, and the many late and forgotten ones." 30 years of democracy in South Africa is a journey through challenges and ongoing progress. It is a resilience and spirit of a nation that has overcome immense raise, unity, democracy, and equality. Late leaders viewed democracy as a complex and multifaceted concept. Steve Biko envisioned South Africa through the ideology of Black consciousness would achieve their liberation, whilst Nelson Mandela's mission was to establish equality and freedom for everyone. As being able to make decisions for ourselves without the fear of nation. Democracy to us means being able to walk freely and confidently, wearing our skin in a plumb, ourselves as African children. Democracy has now become the Africa that we want. The Africa where citizens from all walks of life get along and welcome each other to their respective countries without fear that the existence of another means winding opportunities for the next. As Nelson Mandela would say, I quote, "It is not our diversity which divides us. It is not ethnicity, nor religion, or freedom. There can only be one division amongst, between those who cherish democracy and those who do not." In 1994, we were a fractured nation. The very fabric of our country had been torn by apartheid, which had systematically excluded Black South Africans. Despite significant progress, South Africa faces challenges as economic equality, unemployment, corruption, and young adults not voting. However, the country moves forward inclusively and equitable society. As His Excellency President Cyril Ramaphosa emphasized the importance of unity and rebuilding the country by saying, I quote, "Let us get to work and let us rebuild our country and let us leave no one behind." I will close it off by saying, a healthy democracy requires a decent society. It requires that we are honorable, generous, tolerant, and respectful. Together we can and we will.
Thank you very much. To bana ba Poelano Secondary School. Before we have the memorial lecture by the professor, we just want to give a bit of context of how we came to be here. The legislature took a decision that we are going to celebrate 30 years of our democracy by also recognizing that this democracy did not just come out of nowhere. Many people paved the way. Many people did their part. But also recognize that Everton today is 120 years old. 120 years old. Where we are standing, in 1908, Maxeke established this very same school. 4 years into the establishment of Everton, which Everton was a result of an agreement where the Europeans agreed that they will rule this country without us. As a legislature, we said it is quite important that we recognize these 120 years of Everton. But also, you can't recognize Everton without acknowledging that there was a woman, a very powerful woman, which the professor is going to speak about, who came here and said, people of this area must have an education. But also, we could not miss a very real fact that 35 years ago, people of the Vaal, Everton, Spokane, and all over the Vaal took a decision to march against the oppressive regime. And 13 of the marchers were killed 35 years ago on the 26th of March. So today, Rehopola, those who passed away on the 26th of March, Kosipukeng, which is now we recognize as heroes who passed away in the fight for our democracy. So this democracy was definitely not for free. People died, people fought, Maxeke and many other heroes fought for us to be here today celebrating 30 years of democracy. With those words, Ketlakopa, Professor Musa Wenkosi, Saurombe, I hope I did not butcher your surname, to come and present a memorial lecture on the life of Maxeke and the fruits of freedom and democracy. Professor.
Dumelang bagaetsho. Le kae? Re teng. It's a real honor to be here. Thank you so much, Ntate. Thank you, Program Director. Distinguished leaders, honored guests, fellow citizens, and esteemed students, all protocol observed. Thankfully, there was protocol already established. I'm not sure gore ke mang o mokhutshwane between myself and Ntate, but ekare re bakhutshwane rotlhe. I would just like to give a disclaimer. I am recovering from a cold. Ga ke batle le tsamaya le re prof o bua ka dinko. I'm just, I have a blocked and congested nose. However, because Charlotte is so close to my heart, I could not turn down this engagement at the last minute. It is a privilege to stand before you today as we reflect on the life and legacy of a pioneering woman, Charlotte Maxeke. We gather here this afternoon not only to honor her memory, but to acknowledge her immeasurable contributions to our struggle for freedom, justice, and democracy. We do this because history is not just a record of the past. It is a mirror and a guide for the present and the future. Charlotte lived a life of purpose, conviction, and courage at a time when South Africa's reality was defined by colonial oppression, racial discrimination, and gender subjugation. She emerged from these trials not as a victim of her circumstances, but as a leader who dedicated her life to liberation, education, and empowerment. Charlotte was a woman ahead of her time. Born in 1871, Charlotte Maxeke was not only a witness to oppression, but an active force against it. She broke barriers as the first Black South African woman to graduate with a university degree. Bonnake already said a mouthful here about the achievements and the feats that she accomplished. During this time, women were, especially Black women, were largely barred from accessing education. But she sought knowledge, not just for personal advancement, but as a tool to uplift her people. Her experiences abroad, especially in the United States, exposed her to the global fight for racial equality. Upon her return, she became an early advocate for Black South Africans. And I'm sure you can see on the banner there how Charlotte appreciated the country that is the United States. But she loved her own country, her own people so much that her stay in the United States did not bar her from returning to South Africa to come and uplift her people. Now, I can't even speak, on behalf of any of us here, granted the opportunity, if we could have the courage to do the same. But Charlotte, being a woman of virtue and a selfless, altruistic woman who saw the need to uplift others, not only herself, she came back, recognizing the power of organizing, educating, and mobilizing communities. She saw that true freedom was not just about removing chains, but about building a society where people could stand tall in dignity and self-determination. Charlotte was a leader in the fight for justice. She did not sit in silence while injustice reigned. She was at the forefront of political activism and the first Black African woman to engage in formal politics. She led women in protest against past laws long before the famous 1956 Women's March to the Union buildings. Her leadership in the Bantu Women's League, which later influenced the formation of the ANC Women's League, was a direct challenge to the oppressive structures of her time. She also understood that freedom was incomplete without economic and social justice. She fought for better working conditions for Black South Africans, for access to land, and for the right for all people to live with dignity and opportunity. Charlotte accomplished many fruits of her struggle for freedom and democracy. And today, we stand in a South Africa where women vote. I know we can take it for granted. It's like how we take for granted the air we breathe every day. Ask someone who's having an asthmatic attack. I'm asthmatic, by the way. You know, when your throat starts to close up, you will appreciate the breath of life. And Charlotte, during her time, was able to empower and enable women to have access to things that ordinarily we should not have had access to. Black children can access education. Democracy is a lived reality. Of course, there's so much ground to be covered still, but we must acknowledge and be grateful for the strides that we have accomplished. There are fruits, these are fruits of the seed and those who fought alongside her. Because of her, women today, leaders in business, leaders in academia. Dada said earlier on when he hears professor, he's expecting an old man with a white beard. But I'm able to stand here today against the stereotype whom Charlotte accomplished. And so, democracy is no longer an abstract idea, but a system that strives to serve over. The question we must ask ourselves is, how do we honor Charlotte Maxeke's legacy in today's South Africa? How do we honor her legacy? Because this is our responsibility, by the way. Yours and mine. Charlotte once, it is often also said, each one teaches. One. Imagine what a society we would live in if each and every one of us could teach one. Leadership does not mean holding an office. We have been given influence, each and every one of us, in our individual right. The question then becomes, what are each of us doing with the influence that we have? And because we have here leaders of the church as well represented, allow me to make reference to the parable of the talents. How many of us are familiar with the parable of the talents? Some of us are, perhaps not all. But in the parable of the talents, there were 3. Individuals given talents and ended up with 4. But the one who was given 1 buried that talent in the ground. And when the master came and asked, "Where is what I gave?" And he said, "I knew that my master, thank you. He is selfish, greedy, lazy, and he wanted to reap where he has not sown. And so I buried it." And the master says, "You lazy and slothful servant," and gave that 1 talent to the one who had multiplied. Now, this is a depiction of how in our hands, no matter how small. Sometimes it's easy to look at those who are and place the burden of expectation on them. But before you expect from others, ask yourself, I need to ask myself, what with whatever influence I have? And that is very important for us to build a society of accountability. The reasons why it's often said that, as Black people, we don't get far is because sometimes we lack the accountability. Having that honest conversation with ourselves and asking, why are we not where we are supposed to be? When the likes of Charlotte had fought so hard to open doors in a time where it was unpopular. Imagine all of us women who have the privileges, the liberties that we do today. Imagine living in the time of Charlotte. I don't think even personally I would be as brave as she was to push through the barriers. One of Bonnake said she didn't just break glass ceilings, but shattered them. And I want to echo those words. Indeed, she shattered the supposed glass ceilings. And for Charlotte, not even the sky was the limit. And so we need to follow that example. We need to follow the example that Charlotte set for us. These words remain our call to action today. And before I begin my closing, I was telling Uchair that I lecture on average, actually, I can do like 3-hour lectures, sometimes more. Some of my lectures are 6 hours. And so I'm not going to keep you, I don't want to keep you here for that long. And that's why today I decided to write my speech. Otherwise, we could be here the whole day. But I just want to share, my own personal experience, which really reverberates the reason why Charlotte is so close to my heart. Having started school as a young girl, Black girl, at the age of 4.5, skipping grade 3, skipping grade 10, finishing high school at 15 years old, starting my first year at university at 16 years old, completing my bachelor's degree at 19, completing my honors degree at 20, completing my master's degree at 21, and completing my PhD at 23. Thank you. All of this, when I look at the likes of Charlotte, would not have been possible. It does not mean that I'm the smartest person in the world. It does not mean that. I won't discredit God. I thank him for the brains that he gave me. But I know there are other people also capable. But because of the past inequalities, did not have the opportunity. I look at the likes of my mother, the likes of my grandmother, the likes of my great-grandmother. And when I speak of these, I'm speaking about Abome also in this room. My grandmother's potentially also in this room, although I don't see anyone who looks that old, honestly. But just thinking about the missed opportunities for all of these women who have what it takes, who had what it takes, if only they had been given the opportunity. For me, that makes me truly grateful for the privilege to be here and to have accomplished what I have. By the grace of God, I'm so grateful. Because even today, even today, unfortunately, as I've said already, the fight is not yet over. There are still other young girls who have also what it takes, just as I do, perhaps even more, to not have access to the opportunities. And those are the conversations we have to have among ourselves as Black people, as Africans. Men, without you, we will not be able to achieve even the work that Charlotte started. And if you look into her work, it was not meant to divide or create division even between men and women, but it was meant to address the past inequality, to ensure that we have a place at the table, because we also have many things to offer. And because as a society we are stronger together. And indeed, when we allow circumstances, pride, arrogance to divide us, we do not accomplish as much as we should. And these are the conversations that we need to continue to have. And so, the call to action requires us to continue to fight for gender equality. Women may have political rights, but we still face violence, economic exclusion, and systemic discrimination. The battle is not won until every woman and girl can live free and equal. Men, you are meant to be the protectors of our society. We must hold and uphold the values of democracy. Corruption, inequality, and poverty threaten the vision Maxeke fought for. Democracy is only meaningful when it serves the people, when leaders act with integrity, and when citizens participate actively in governance. We must invest in education. I will continue to emphasize this because I've been a product of investing in education. Maxeke believed that knowledge is the key to freedom. So did Utata Madiba. Today, access to quality education remains a challenge for many young South Africans. The best tribute we can give her is not long speeches and rhetoric, but to ensure that every child, girl or boy, no matter their background, has the opportunity to learn, to grow, and to lead. We must build an inclusive society. Maxeke did not fight for a South Africa that benefited a few, but for a country that uplifted all her people. We must work together to bridge economic divides, break racial barriers, and create a nation where every citizen belongs. As we celebrate Charlotte Maxeke's impact, let us not do so in mere. Let us be torch bearers of her vision that is free, just, and prosperous for all. Let us walk in her footsteps. Let us commit to the ideas and ideals that she fought for. The fruits of freedom and democracy are ours to protect, nurture, and share. Let us never forget that the work is not finished. It is now our turn to rise. And in rising, thank you.
Definitely, we will rise and help others to rise with us. Thank you very much, Professor. Chapeleng Matsohape. Charlotte Maxeke lived and served our people to make sure that, as the professor correctly said, that also stereotypes are broken. As she correctly said, Professor Musawing Kus, until I saw a young woman, like properly young, I'm sure she's young enough to be my daughter. So yeah, and we are honored, Professor, for your time that you came, even though you had flu, but you made time that Utlemona go Everton, Ralebo. I must also recognize our former speaker. We have many leaders here. There are too many to recognize. Meneli Siwe, Mbatha Mwerane. Menelisiwe, ngicela uphakame just for people to recognize you. Everton. She's a former Speaker of Sidibeng and a former MEC, Yamona Gauteng, and member of Lebo Mme. Ke tlo bitsa choir, e tlo re entertainer hape. Then immediately, when we'll have one poem from Date Mabuti. Can the choir please come to the stage?